Hello, and welcome to Rethinking Change. I'm Pat West. Today, we're starting in where I left off in the last video, where I said the best place to be focusing our attention is on the opportunities embedded, hidden within the COVID-19 pandemic. Because as a law of nature, in duality, there are two sides to every coin. You can be very sure wherever there's danger, there are also hidden opposite and equal opportunities, blessings in disguise. So that's the subject of today's video. Couldn't be more timely, being Easter. Today I'm looking at 5 questions. 1, what is the hidden meaning of Easter? And what opportunities does it have for us in the year 2020? 2, what is that life wheel? How does it explain the deeper hope of Easter? And how does it explain the quantum healing achieved by Dr. Joe Dispenza's work? 3, how have we become so deeply fractured? And is this pandemic the 2x4 it's going to take to shock us, to change our ways, to eliminate fractures, restore unity? 4, what are the similarities between the pandemic and the bioengineered flu die-off in Stephen King's The Stand? And 5, how can we use the Book of Change to adjust and make the best out of the current changes? And specifically, what does the book have to say about the opportunities, the blessings within this COVID-19 pandemic at Easter time? By the end of this video, you'll have answers to those questions. It's just the tip of the iceberg, hopefully enough to spark your curiosity and motivate you to look for further answers for yourself. But please do stay with me to the end. I do promise you it will be worth your while. And please do like, share, and subscribe to get this information out to a world that needs it, and be reminded when future videos are published. So let's dive in. First, what is the deeper meaning of Easter, and what blessings does it have for us in the year 2020? Well, Easter is perennially a time of hope and renewal. It marks a change of season coming out of the dead of winter and into new life. It's a time of rebirth on many levels. It's not only your garden that's coming back to life, it's also a time to rethink values, reset the inner clocks, make a fresh start, kind of a spring cleaning inside and out. The 2020 historical reset is giving us ways to rejuvenate and deepen our understanding of traditional teachings, which I'll explain as we go along. So, second, what is the archetypal life wheel? Well known to meditators. I did explain it in the earlier video. It's not tough. Basically, I took this ancient wheel that shows wheels within wheels, and I plugged into it the 3 variables of Einstein's formula: M equals mass, E equals energy, C equals light. And these variables all rotate around a stable, unchanging hub, a center. You call it source, creator, God, Tao, or nothing at all, as you wish. And these levels are all linked by a 2-way, never-ending figure 8, the infinity sign. The result is Einstein's unified field theory, including the consciousness factor. He already had it, missed it for lack of yoga training. I'll show you what it looks like. So, how does this life wheel explain the eternal hope of Easter? Here's where it gets really interesting and where science actually comes full circle to support biblical teachings. Science gives us technical terms for what the apostles described in the poetic language available to them at their time. Today we have both quantum physics and now the life wheel to explain what meditators experience as infinity, a new way to understand what's been called Christ consciousness. The quantum field is beyond three-dimensional time and space. In the same way, Christ told us he existed outside of time. He existed before and will exist after this cycle of time. That's what Peter meant when he was referring to Christ as the matrix. Further, Christ told us that he and the Father, that center, the source, are one. His consciousness flows outwards in all directions from that center, permeating the entire quantum field. So here's a picture of Christ broadcasting blessings from that center. But what's important for us to remember today is that Christ said we each have the potential, in fact, have a responsibility to follow his example, become one with the Father, which leads to the next part of this question. How does this life wheel, which embodies Einstein's unified field theory, connect quantum physics with Dr. Joe Dispenza's healing work? His methods give us a way to follow in the tradition of Christ's healing. Dr. Joe teaches an age-old but now science-based way to heal ourselves and others. Through meditation, his students systematically travel inwards to reconnect with the center, and then to return back outwards, enriched by an awareness of this experience to live daily life more fully. Dr. Joe's students testify to healing of crippling injuries and to the total remission of life-threatening illnesses. From his experience, as well as others, he reports that it is possible to change completely in this lifetime. We don't have to die as Christ did to be reborn. And that, my friends, is the eternal hope of Easter. Third, how have our lives become so badly fractured? It's a result of rejecting wisdom for empirical science. According to that belief system, only what's tangible, measurable is real. In effect, it rules out the inner levels of the life wheel where emotions and intuition exist. It looks like this. However, saying that subtle experiences aren't real doesn't make it so. It only fractures the levels of the life wheel, pushing feelings and intuition and conscience outside of conscious awareness. The results look like this. And the consequences of fragmenting the life wheel in this way are catastrophic. Divine love spins outside, detached from daily experience. On the surface, we project good intentions, protect our self-image, but pride, fear, aggression, prejudice, insecurity, rage, hostility, all fester below the surface, outside of conscious awareness and control, as do hopelessness, powerlessness, and suicidal depression, which looks like this. So, what's the way out of this destructive madness? And was the COVID-19 shock to our collective system necessary to finally get our attention, serious enough to make us change our ways, heal our fractures, and restore inner unity? If yes, that would be a blessing on a scale of magnitude comparable to Christ's sacrifice more than 2,000 years ago. Here's what the process of restoring unity would look like. Which in turn leads to the next related question. Fourth, what are the similarities between today's COVID-19 situation and the bioengineered flu die-off in Stephen King's apocalyptic story, The Stand? I'll touch briefly on the blame game because it leads in exactly the opposite direction from where we need to be going. Because the point of Christ's sacrifice was to wipe the slate clean. So even if it were proven that the virus was weaponized in a lab for the sake of world domination, let it go. Because you can trust evil intentions will of themselves backfire, returning to the sender. If world leaders have separated from timeless wisdom, they will without a doubt reap the rewards of actions that violate natural law, the law of karma. Intervention is not necessary. So don't even think about revenge or rebellion. That would ruin this golden opportunity for a positive fresh start. From my point of view, what's far more interesting is King's attention to a Yeats poem, The Second Coming, where in despair an officer commits suicide, leaving behind this quote, "This center does not hold." That's the real issue. Should we follow that example, give in to despair, regard the horrors of a pandemic as proof that the center does not exist, does not hold? Never. No matter what happens on that ever-changing surface of the wheel, the eternal center of the life wheel remains still unchanging. In fact, the COVID-19 pandemic might be just the shock it takes to wake us up, so that like Lambert the sheepish lion, we finally remember who we truly are. Here's the lion Lambert, designated protector of the field. And here's another important similarity. In The Stand, two communities emerge. They represent a choice between good and evil. One group follows Jesus, the other follows a demon. In a similar way, Joe Dispenza and Greg Radin both agree that today we're living in a time of extremes. One side seeks unity and cooperation to live in harmony with nature. The other is addicted to conflict and has no respect whatsoever for life. Which leads straight into the next question, because here's where working with the Book of Change can make a difference in which side you end up on. Like meditation, it's a self-awareness tool. We can use it to repair the fractures that leave us unaware of feelings and intuition, helping us line up with the wisest life-affirming options available. Acting on its advice, we can adapt, turning whatever is going on around us to best advantage. Brayton tells us that there are three converging cycles now upon us: change in the weather, in the economy, and warfare. While that's interesting, what we need to know is how to relate to these cycles in a personal way. The Book of Change brings these global ideas home. It lets us tap into how each of us as an individual can cope wisely with global events at one particular point in time. For today's example, I asked, what advice does the Book of Change have to offer at Easter about the opportunities hidden within this global shutdown? The first answer, which describes an immediate situation, was adversity. I had one changing line, which results in awareness. And this is totally fascinating because in the introduction to my version, I asked, what does the Common Sense Book of Change have to offer its readers? And I got the answer to that question the same as I did again today: awareness, which just happens to be Dr. Joe's favorite word. He repeats, be aware that you're aware. So adversity reads, it is a test of fortitude. When it cannot be prevented, the wisest response is acceptance. Use hardship as an opportunity to strengthen character and focus on inner resources. Misunderstandings are likely to occur. Remain calm. Take care of yourself and support those who depend on you. Avoid despair. It looks like this. So it seems to me that the opportunities of 2020 Easter season include quiet time to reconnect with these inner resources, the inner E equals energy and C equals light levels of the life wheel. And we are specifically warned to avoid despair, the choice of the suicidal general in The Stand, who quotes Yeats out of context as if the center does not hold. I've seen YouTubers comparing what we're going through in terms of Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grief. First comes denial, followed by anger. Next are bargaining, depression, finally acceptance. So here the advice, the wisest response is acceptance, represents the healing of grief over so many losses of loved ones, jobs, incomes, and of a familiar lifestyle we took for granted. But then comes the opposite and equal blessing in disguise. The advice of line 5 is help from an unexpected source can reverse a difficult situation. The result reads, seek awareness from the patterns which underlie all natural events. Tune yourself to the creative source of natural change. Then harmony becomes a way of life. Secrets of the arts and sciences are revealed. Human relationships will become smooth. Mistakes of miscalculation will be prevented. It looks like this. So, when unexpected blessings, whether in the form of guidance, inspiration, or beneficial synchronicities, truly come from Source, they have the potential to reverse the negative consequences of living an unconscious, fragmented life, restoring awareness of unity and the inner peace, which no one and nothing can ever take away. May this deepest, long lasting well being be yours at this sacred time of hope. Thank you for staying with me. And until next time, do continue to take good care of yourselves.